welcome back to another episode of Outsmart. I'm your host, Augustia, and today we are talking about a really important topic, how not to be manipulated by others. Why is it so important? Because honestly, these days you encounter too many manipulators, whether it's a boss manipulating employees and people manipulating their kids, or in business situation where salespeople manipulate clients or vice versa. It's everywhere. So the question is, how can you avoid being controlled or pushed around by this kind of people? To put it simply, it's like walking along the shore. You might get your shoes wet sometimes. So you're gonna run into it now and then. If you're listening to this episode, I'm sure you had an experience where you felt round or squeezed. Like when you don't agree with what someone says, but they push you anyway or use their power to force you to comply, even when you really don't want to. That means you are being manipulated sometimes. If you aren't being manipulated, you could just push back in moments or fight for yourself. Even it's behind the scenes. Maybe on the surface, things look so peaceful, but behind the scenes, you're ready to take action. But if you just keep swallowing your pride, that means you don't have the strength to argue back. So you choose to stay quiet and bury it. If you do have the strength, you might say, all right, let's just deal with this for now. But then later, you might strike back when no one is looking. So the big question is, when you are in a weaker position, how do you avoid being played? Now you're one of those people who likes to play sweet victim or the willing martyr. It's a whole different conversation. Not what we are talking about today. This episode is about when people are forcing you to do something you really don't want to do, like a boss forcing employees to meet impossible KPIs, and when the employees fail, the boss might doctor pay or push them out, claiming, okay, it's for their own good or to build their skills. Let me give you a few examples of this kind of situation and what you can do about it. First, the easiest way to start is simply by telling your boss the problem is not the KPI itself. If boss gives you a KPI that's impossible to meet, you can say, boss, the problem not about KPI. If you want to make money or achieve something, the issue lies elsewhere. This reframing shifts the focus. Instead of arguing about the specific KPI, you talk about the overall strategy and why this particular method won't work. You explain step by step why you can't meet the goal. Then you can ask, has this KPI been given to other employees before? And did they all meet it? The answer is probably no. You are basically using your own logic to against themselves. Pointing out that the unrealistic targets are given because of the lack of planning, realistic planning, not the employee's ability. Then you can suggest a more realistic and actionable plan. By doing this, you can reclaim some of the conversation and shift the power back to yourself, emphasizing that the real problem lies elsewhere. This phrase, the problem isn't here, is very powerful. You can use it beyond work. For example, if your parents pressure you to do some more homework just to get a better grade, you can say, okay, the problem is not just about doing more homework, it's about the effective study method. And this changes the conversation from control to collaboration. It also works in close relationships. If one partner constantly manipulates another by saying things like, oh, I work so hard outside, or you should just take care of the kids and family, you can respond to this. The real issue isn't how much I do or don't do. It's about shared responsibility and respect. Here's a side note, especially for men. The money powers often is a big part of manipulation. If a man seems emotionally dull or uninterested in money, he might be more vulnerable to manipulations through other things like attractions or control. Knowing someone's weakness lets you understand where the leverage really lies. I know a story about a boss and a key employee who almost quit employee didn't just leave quietly. He took his own belongings and stopped coming to work. The boss then threatened to withhold his salaries unless the employees did some critical work. But the employees were smart. He said, okay, if you don't provide resources and support you promise to help me do this work, I'm not going to produce or do anything. In other words, the employee held a crucial leverage in his hand. Without the promised resources, any work he produced would be meaningless. Just like drawing waters in a bamboo basket, pointless. The boss really wanted the result, but the employee controlled the process. Legally, the employee has had an advantage, according to the labor law, but the employers must pay the basic wages regardless of the performance. So withholding salary completely is illegal, unless maybe you can dock a performance bonus. Everyone listening, everyone can make a list of people who have manipulated or might continue to manipulate you. Then figure out what these people are really after from you. And often what they want and their ultimate goal aren't exactly the same thing. Once you understand what they truly want, you can say, the problem isn't here. You can suggest better ways to meet their underlying needs in a way that benefits both of you. Instead of focusing on your own positions or losses, try to look at things from their perspective. If you can offer what you want in a way that only you can fulfill, you change the power dynamic. Suddenly, you are the giver, and they are the receiver. That flips the entire situation. This is a simple but effective 3-step strategy I recommend. First, make a list of one manipulate or try to control you. Second, identify what they want from you, and then figure out their true goal, and then find a way to provide what they want on your terms. Of course, if you are someone wanting to buy a $300,000 house but only have 1/3 of the fees, then that's a different problem. You will need to work on yourself and become worthy of that $300,000 house. And that kind of self-improvement is outside today's topic. So that's it for today's episode. I hope everyone can get stronger, avoid being manipulated, and stay happy being themselves. See you next time. Bye.